What is going on, everyone? Today I have on Salem, who is a hybrid of both selling on Amazon and Walmart. I've known him for a couple years now via Instagram, Discord. I'm really excited to pick his brain. Salem, thank you so much for coming on, man.
Absolutely, man. Thank you so much for having me.
So before we dive into just questions and whatnot, can you just kind of give an intro about yourself to the audience, please?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Salem. I've been selling on Amazon for almost 3 years now, and and Walmart for a little over 2 years. And when I started selling on Amazon, I was actually in Flip Nation's course on his Discord, which really helped me out a lot. So it feels kind of cool sitting here in front of you today to talk to you about e-commerce. And like I said, I definitely appreciate it.
Yeah, it's awesome, dude. I was kind of recalling back to that time when I was speaking to you in the group, and then seeing how much of a bigger of a seller you are now, and just kind of influence and content creation. It's awesome to see. So really proud of you for
Thank
that,
you.
for sure.
Thanks, man.
So what did kind of compel you to begin starting to sell on? I guess you started on Amazon, right? So I guess walk me through how you started selling on Amazon first, and then kind of meandered your way to Walmart.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started flipping, items back about a year before I did start Amazon, and that was by doing sneaker botting and also by botting Supreme. I was never, the biggest botter, but I always found it like fun and exciting when there were drops. So that's how I kind of got my feet wet. And then on one of your episodes, you interviewed Walker, and that was the person whose Discord I was in. So Walker was actually the one who kind of introduced me to Amazon, told me the process of how to set it up, and also fed me my first lead that really changed my whole perspective on life and also business. And, without Walker, I couldn't say I could be here today, but that's pretty much how I started getting into it. And after doing Amazon for about a year and a half, Walker was also the one to recommend me to open up Walmart. And at that time, it was very low key at the time, and we were still trying to kind of figure it out. So that's kind of how I got started with all of this, which is crazy to say looking back.
Yeah, and we can still argue that Walmart still kind of is low key in the grand scheme of things, but definitely has blown up a little bit since even like 6 months ago, right? I had a feeling back in the day, 6 months ago, I was thinking, okay, we're starting to kind of see more sellers into Walmart, and pretty soon here we're going to see a lot more videos on YouTube from gurus, and that kind of sense, and just people just creating more content on how to sell on Walmart, and it's already kind of started. 2025 is truly going to be the year of Walmart, I feel like. But just to your point about Walker, I think you are now the third person that I've interviewed who started from sneaker buying. I think it's you, Michael, and Walker, of course. So which group were you in, Walker? Was it more like in the sneaker botting kind of group that he had back in the day?
Yeah, yeah, he had a really big group back in the day. I believe it
What
was
was it?
called Hustler's Vault,
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
and then
He
he
had a
kind
big
of pivoted.
TikTok following, right?
Yeah, he had a really big TikTok following, and I believe he created multiple Discords, and he has another one now, and the other one's still running with someone else. So he's very on it with the trends, it seems like.
Yeah. And it's awesome how like various relationships lead you to other people, right? Like knowing Walker, letting me kind of knowing you and whatnot. So again, it kind of reinforces having a good community and having a lot of relationships in this whatever kind of community you're in, whether it's Amazon, Walmart, TikTok shop, whatever. Have that strong community opens doors for you. So
100%.
okay. So before we dive into just various questions, a lot of the content that I create and people that interview, it's really geared toward new sellers. And so before we jump into anything, I just want to ask you for a new seller in 2025. Do you believe that they should be starting to sell on Amazon first or start on Walmart first?
That's a really good question. Me personally, I think Walmart would be the move just because, the best way to get started on Walmart is through retail arbitrage, in my opinion, just because there's less restrictions than there are on Amazon today than they were when I started. Um, I think Amazon is great if you have a direct relationship with a brand owner, or you have a friend who owns a brand that you could then scale for them, or even if you have some really good wholesalers, Amazon might be the play for you there. But if you're really looking to just dabble and see that first sale, going to the store and making the concept known for yourself, then I would definitely say Walmart would be the move for sure.
Yeah, I guess that's one of the more contentious topics in the e-commerce world right now is is writing on the wall for Amazon based on all those restrictions and people getting banned from selling on Amazon and whatnot. But then I guess the question now becomes: is Walmart going to be trending to being as saturated as Amazon? But I guess as far as your theory on selling Walmart first for a new seller, is there other reasons why? Is it also because of the number of sellers on Walmart? Is it because of the volume on Walmart, or what's kind of another reason you would say?
I would say a few reasons. I mean, the first one is, it is an up and coming platform. And, I'm on LinkedIn heavily for my professional life. And I do see a lot of Amazon high executives moving over to Walmart. And my assumption there is they're probably implementing, different systems and procedures from there. And right now, Walmart is still trying to figure out different things, right? I mean, their layout is very clunky, it's very laggy. The seller app isn't available for everyone. The data is kind of lackluster. And in my opinion, I think that's a huge benefit because some seller from Amazon who might not have the experience with Walmart, they might not know how many units they should buy and they might not be as confident making that purchase decision.
Mhm.
Than on with Amazon where you have all that data. So I think that is a huge opportunity right now.
Right. Right. And I think it's not, I wouldn't say it's a hot take, but it's always a good idea to go on kind of trends that are that's early, right? I think with time, Walmart might end up being like Amazon, where a lot of people that want to do private label and other things on Amazon, I think one of their worries is that will Amazon just come in with their own brand and compete with them and just eat up all the ad revenue and just put their own listing to the top, right? And I think one of these days 3 years, 4 years, 5 years down the road, Walmart might be there. But until then, you're not really facing a lot of intimidation from Walmart selling their own brand and whatnot against you, right? Whereas Amazon, you're always in that kind of fear if you're a private label seller. As far as OA, online arbitrage, and retail arbitrage, I think Amazon it's still, still a good move. Again, there's a lot of restrictions going on right now, and a lot of it's kind of scared some new sellers to even start on Amazon, and that's where Walmart comes in, and that's where I think we'll get some good, wealth of information from you as it pertains to why you should go in that Walmart route. So, okay,
100%.
so let's start with some Walmart questions. I'm going to try to kind of throw a bunch of different questions at you, but I'll try to make it a little more categorized with Amazon, Walmart. So, starting with Walmart, um, how would you evaluate a product and determine if it's worthy to even sell on a listing?
Yeah, so I mean, I use the Martyr app. I use the Martyr app and I use the Walmart Sellers app. And the one thing that I like to look at is, the amount of reviews that there are on a product. But the most important thing to me is the amount of sellers on the listing. And deeper into that is going to be, are these sellers WFSing or are they seller fulfilling, right? So if there's a whole bunch of seller fulfilled people on the listing and no WFS sellers, if I'm able to WFS that product, I could easily get on that listing and take, a lot of sales out the way. So that's like the number one indicator for me. And the reason why I say that is there are so many listings and items that are not saturated with only one seller, with two in stock, three in stock. And if you kind of think strategically like that, you could really, get in on a listing and really take it over. But with that, I like to look at the buy box statistics and also the price history as well. Similar to stuff that I look for with Amazon, I just look at everything more with a grain of salt with Walmart.
Okay, so I guess I have a question for you there then. As it pertains to buy box rotation, I kind of understand that you're saying kind of infer based on a listing. If you see some people doing WFS, then it might be a good idea to also continue to do WFS because it seems like they've already done their trial and error and found that it's selling well. Enough confidence to where they probably send it into Walmart, right?
Right.
Okay, so if I were to send my items into WFS, which is their fulfillment center, right? Walmart's fulfillment center. Um, if we sent it in, are you then competing with WFS sellers, or are you saying that the ones that are merchant fulfilling, they have less of an opportunity to win the buy box?
They have a less opportunity to win the buy box. They're gonna have to undercut you anywhere from $3 to $5 to beat
Mhm.
your Walmart fulfilled price, which
Okay.
is obviously, a decent amount, right?
Mhm.
Now, when you do WFS over a seller fulfilled seller, you are then also able to price $3 to $5 above and get that buy box, right? So um, it's a big opportunity, and with WFS, I think they prioritize it more now, in my opinion, just from what I see.
Okay.
But also with that, you never truly know how a listing moves until you're actually on it. But 90% of the time, this is the strategy that I use and it works.
Right. Okay. And you probably have much more data because you probably send way more inventory than me. My kind of a negative experience with Walmart is I was selling this unit, the SKU MF, and it was selling pretty well, right? And I was like, okay, all these Walmart people are telling me if it's selling well, merchant fulfilled, I should send it in. I send it in. Nothing sold. It sat there. Now, I will say it eventually did sell, but my natural thought process was, well, I could have just held on to it and continue to merchant fulfill. And maybe they made a mistake. Maybe Walmart made a mistake and send it to like a region that wasn't selling well versus where I was at in Texas. You know, those kind of uh, logistic issues I wouldn't be I wouldn't have knowledge about, right? Um, but during Q4, I did send much more things through WFS and I had good experience, right? So I guess this kind of goes back to what you were saying. It really does come down to your own data, and you just got to test your own data or test your own SKUs with it, since there is no BSR, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so as far as differentiating with Walmart and Amazon, how is it different? Again, in the vantage point of a new seller who hasn't sold on Amazon or Walmart, how would you say is the difference between finding a profitable product to sell on Walmart as it pertains to Amazon?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, with Amazon, volume is king with Amazon. You can't compete with the volume on there. So, looking at Walmart, an item might not sell as fast as it does on Amazon. So, my biggest recommendation to a new seller for both, right, would be to start small and try to cast a wider net of different products. And if you're referring to Walmart specifically, definitely, try to purchase way more products than if you were getting started on Amazon, just because the volume doesn't always reflect, right? And goes back to you don't know how a listing moves until you're on it. But that's one thing that I would recommend. I have 10 times the amount, if not more, SKUs on Walmart than I do on Amazon. And that is for the simple fact of having to have a wide net on the platform, in my opinion.
Right. Okay. So, based on all the SKUs that you have right now, do you have kind of a percentage on how much you WFS and how much you merchant fulfilled, or do you just kind of stay away from merchant fulfilled? It's not worth the headache.
So I wouldn't say merchant fulfilled is worth the headache. I mean, all my duration of selling, I have done merchant fulfilled up until the first of the year, and it's for a couple reasons. The first one is I live in an apartment and I also work full time, and just taking all these boxes up 3 flights now that I'm doing more volume, it's just a lot of extra work, right?
Right.
And going to the UPS store, FedEx, and UPS, I call it the trifecta because I would literally go every day after work to all three.
I'm still
So
there
with
with.
that being yeah, and like, there's nothing wrong with that, but now, in the grand scheme of things, as I'm doing more content and things like this, I think really scaling it is going to be fully hands off. But don't get me wrong though, if there is an item that is small that I could fit in like a bubble mailer, I'm more than happy to ship it out. Or if I go to the store and find really good RA grabs, I'm still 100% going to grab those and ship them out. So I would say 90% right now would be WFS.
Especially also since you're taking time to go into stores too, right? So if you're already going into the stores and taking your time out of the day to do that, why also add on to the headache of also sending it out to UPS and FedEx? And that's funny, the trifecta. So I likewise with me, I order all those boxes from UPS, the corrugated boxes, I think they're the 9x6x4.
Oh yeah.
My thought process is if it doesn't fit in the 9x6x4 or all the poly bags that I have, I'm not going to MF it because it's a pain in the ass to like get those larger boxes and you got to find a box that fits. And it sounds like a minimal thing to worry about, but it can be such a headache if you have multiple of those boxes. And I'm kind of irritable when like something doesn't fit perfectly in the box and now I got to put a bunch of more like packaging. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, now I'm just wasting money because there's all this air here and I got to tell UPS it's this big, but the product is that, all that kind of stuff. And it adds on,
Yeah.
right?
It's a
So,
lot.
so yeah, all my shipping, all my MF for me, it's never over like $6, and it's never a headache as far as the size. But I agree with you. It is a pain in the ass sometimes to go to UPS, USPS, FedEx. But for me, it really depends on the profit of the product and if I'm actually going to like. I guess there's a dollar amount. Like if I'm gonna make at least $5 to $6 on it, I think it's worth it to MF. If it's smaller profit but higher velocity, then I'll just go ahead and send it into WFS or sorry or Amazon FBA. So
Yeah, that's smart. The one thing I'll say too is like I don't know about you, but anytime I do pack from my house, like I'm never upset about it. I always enjoy it. So it is
yeah,
something that like I do miss. It's just right now with the time and everything, it's just not worth it. But it's definitely a good play either way, for
right.
sure.
And it is something to having for me, I guess, like just in my mind, seeing it tangibly being sold. Because after a while, you're buying so much things, you're sending to the prep center. It's almost like you never see it, and it's almost like stocks in a way. Technically, it kind of is because you're kind of looking to buy and sell and price charts and stuff. But I like being able to send it in myself sometimes. I don't know. I'm so used to it now and getting off work and just shipping it out that it's kind of an afterthought for me. But you're right. It does take a little bit of time. I have a FedEx and UPS and USPS all kind of in the same location. So it's not too bad. And technically it's installed labeled. I just kind of just drop it off, you know?
Same,
Um,
yeah.
but no, I understand. And boxes, right? You don't have to worry about boxes. That's another thing. You mentioned that you live in an apartment, and that's a whole nother factor because then you got to go downstairs and everything. So yeah, I agree with you. I know some people use like pirate ship pickup and stuff like that. I just never wanted to give credence to that because I don't want to trust someone picking up my stuff, especially if it's like, you know, I think like 10, 11 FBM orders can easily be up to like 700, $800, you know? And then who's to say that they just mess up? They're not going to give the same care about you like you would give to your business, you know? So I'd never really liked someone else taking my packages, you know? So,
Very, very true. Very true.
okay. So in your Walmart business, what is your most preferred category to sell and what is your least favorite and why?
My biggest seller right now is probably toys, I would say. I've kind of cracked the code for what sells, kind of year round. Obviously, with Q4, it's the best for that, but throughout
Yeah.
the year, it's a very good category. And I also am dabbling into grocery a little bit, noticing that the margins aren't really as good, but the volume is a little bit better. I'm starting to realize. The least category I like on both Amazon and Walmart right now is actually going to be health and beauty.
Oh, really?
It was a very big hit for me when I started Amazon, but with the amount of IPs that I've gotten, the amount of brands, taking over the listing, I kind of just had bad luck with it and kind of left it aside. Um, I do think there's a lot of opportunity in that. It's just for me, I've been burned so many times with that category.
Yeah, and also the ingredient label issues. I can't remember what the violation was, but now I don't even buy any sort of health and beauty item that I don't see the ingredient label on the listing. I can just tell, okay, I'm gonna get hit with this violation that there isn't an ingredient label on this listing, and I might even consider not even selling it because it gives you a health score impact violation, and then you gotta pretty much save the listing for everyone because all 20 of the people probably got banned off the listing. No one knows how to fix it. I know how to fix it, so now I got to go in and do my best at fixing it. And yeah, I agree with you. There, I do. I will say for health and beauty, it's still one of my favorite things to sell. But I will only buy it from the brand themselves. I don't try to buy health and beauty from even like Kohl's. Is I might make an exception for Kohl's, but anything outside of Kohl's that I know that I'm not sure if those invoices get accepted. I won't buy the health and beauty product. But as long as you buy it from the brand, I think you're okay. But again, you still have that risk of the brand coming in, which yes, we've seen more often than not. And we've seen that Amazon has been restricting a lot of those beauty brands. They've stopped after, for a while now, but there was a time where it was like three every single month, a large beauty brand restricted, right? So if you bought a bunch of them, you're kind of screwed, right? And you got to turn to eBay or something.
Yeah, and I don't know
Which
about you, but Clinique was like a really, really heavy hitter for me when I started, and when they let that go, I was like, wow. But that was a good brand on there for sure.
Clinique, Laura Mercier was another one.
Hmm.
Charlotte Tilbury, or however you say it. A lot of those are just yeah. See you later, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And now, are those categories the toys and whatnot? I know. So again, I want to address what you said about Q4. It really does seem like November, I guess a little bit of October, but definitely November and December, everything's like on easy mode. And I've even seen new sellers come on in like August where it's back to school, right? August, you have back to school. then it kind of like dwindles down a little bit in October. Then November it comes on like that, right? And then like by January, February, you see some sellers not selling anymore because they don't get that same high or they don't see that same success and volume. And I think if you just are all on your, what is the word? Um, if you're just there for the moment during Q4, you're not really making real business procedures and processes. Then you're going to be done by January and February because this is where the consistency really makes a big deal. All right. So
Yeah.
how do you deal with that? By the way, like the volume that you get from Q4 as opposed to now where the volume has decreased, returns might have increased a little bit too. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. I was just gonna say, some days I wake up with a very good day, some days are slow, some days are not. And I used to always, get upset with myself, like, oh, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? But then I realized, consistency, like you said, I personally don't have spend goals and I'm an advocate for them. I'm not hating on them, but I don't
Right.
have a spend goal or really a sales goal. My mentality is I'm going to source all my leads, provide as much feedback as I can, and,
Mhm.
go from there, right? Some days are really good, some days are bad, but as long as I'm consistent with it, it always works out, in my opinion. And the
Mhm.
most important thing, even for a new seller, is just to be consistent with the habit, right? Once you hit $20,000 a month consistently, it really is just a matter of spending more, and that's really what it comes down to, right? So that's kind of how I look at it, but it keeps me motivated, following yourself, following all these other sellers that we all know, seeing everyone doing good. It just keeps you in your lane just to know, keep grinding and it'll come.
Yeah, I think I agree with you on the spending goal. I think for me, when I first started, the spending goal was important to me because it kind of kept me accountable. But you're right. Sometimes you look past the spending goal and you'll just go to spend just to spend. uh, for those that are new, well, can you explain what a spending goal is and how it's implemented in our OA businesses?
Yeah, absolutely. So, when I first started off, I did have a spend goal. I want to spend $2,500 this week or
Mhm,
$2,500 this month. And then
mhm.
the goal obviously would be to find profitable, keyword profitable products that you would then be able to use to hit that spend goal. And in my experience, similar to what you said, you find yourself kind of chasing just whatever you could kind of find that maybe doesn't look good or looks okay. And you buy that inventory, it doesn't sell well, it tanks. And, it's good to go through that because you learn it. But the important thing is, knowing not to do it again because it is easy to just buy stuff or meet in a minimum order quantity with a supplier just to get that. And in the hindsight, it's not always the smartest play.
Yeah, and then you almost start getting FOMO too if you don't like purchase an X amount that day. Yeah, I had a spend goal. It was an X amount for the month, and I would divide it by like 31 days, and then I try to hit that. And generally speaking, whatever your spend goal is for like a day or for a month, your revenue is about like two times that, kind of give or take. And that would be always in the back of my mind. I'm thinking, okay, if I don't spend this much, I'm not gonna hit my revenue goal, and then I won't hit my profit goals, and so that can kind of get jumbled in your head, and when you first start selling, it can be exhausting. But for me, it kind of depends on the type of person you are too. I think because for me, it kept me accountable, and and that demanded me not to miss a day of buying because it's really easy to stop, like skip a day or two of buying, and then you kind of lose that groove and that rhythm. That you got to have like that foot on the neck with OA and RA and anything, right? So I think it comes down to who you are as a person as well. But yeah, don't have a spend goal and just spend just to spend. Yeah. Agree. I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, so on Amazon, I know you spoke about Walmart. Is Amazon also that same? You stay away from health and beauty items?
So with that's a good question. With Amazon, I also recently just pivoted in January to strictly brand direct and or a brand that does allow authorized reselling. And so far, I do have two brands, about 15 different SKUs
Nice.
that I'm working with. So on that side of the business, it's kind of hard not to do the OA, and I do want to do it for Amazon, but right now I kind of just want to play it really safe while I'm growing my Walmart. Um, and that's kind of how I'm playing it there. But as
Okay.
far as OA with Amazon in the past, a lot of Legos. I'm fortunate enough not to get hit with the ungate on Lego or
Mhm.
Adidas or
Right.
Nike.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out what brand I should really niche down in.
Uh-huh.
because as sad as it sounds, and you could agree, it sounds like a lot of people got burned with, not being able to sell XYZ brand, and it doesn't look like, anything's going to happen at this time for it. So it's kind of an opportunity for us who are ungated.
Right. Yeah, we just kind of just opportunistically lucky, right? Um,
Yeah,
just for the new sellers, can you explain what brand direct is and going through a distributor,
absolutely. Yeah.
and why you've chosen that route for Amazon?
Yeah, absolutely. So brand direct is when you are purchasing directly for the brand. So for example, if I have a Canon camera, I'm buying directly from Canon, right? So that first of all just knows that the product is authentic, which Amazon cares a lot about. And Amazon also cares a lot about, the supply chain of your items, which buying from a brand alleviates all of that and mitigates all that risk is the first thing. The second thing is buying from the brand, they sometimes allow you to get special pricing, and they might also allow you to become an authorized seller, which mitigates your risk almost all the
Completely.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah, completely, which gives you a peace of mind and able to grow with them. On the flip side, with distributors are essentially the middleman from the brand distributor into us sellers or us stores, right? So working with them, there are a lot of good distributors out there, a lot of good accounts, but there's also, some that aren't so good. The ones on WhatsApp, the ones on Telegram, the ones on Instagram. From my experience, never buy from any of those third parties. But buying from distributors is good because you are able to buy bigger quantities of items than you are able to if you were to buy at Target or in store at Walmart. So there's a lot of pros, more pros than cons to both of them. But the biggest con I would say to a new seller is, learning the lingo of the business, learning how to position yourself, and then also, being able to purchase those large orders confidently because they do become costly.
So how do you juxtapose a legitimate distributor from a shady one? Do you just kind of ask for supply chains and documentations, or is there more to it than just that?
I ask for that. I also do ask if they do buy from the brand directly. After you do build that initial relationship, it's a pretty straightforward answer. And also, you could kind of tell by the invoicing. And from my experience, you could kind of tell from the whole process of getting set up by the account, right? Is someone sending you an info packet, having you fill out a questionnaire, calling you, asking for everything that you need? If they're ask for everything you need, and it seems legit, typically it is. And as you reach out to more and more, you'll kind of be able to distinguish, like, hey, this probably isn't the best one to work with, or hey, this is a really good one. So
Are they
kind of a
pretty
trial and error.
are they pretty transparent with you when you ask for like some sort of documentation to see if they're legitimate or if they're buying directly from the brand? How have you noticed if someone's just being shady or illegitimate versus the ones that are authentic?
I mean, they just pretty much just say yes or no. I had one guy say, no, we don't. We work with a really good closeout who gets it directly from the brand.
Mhm.
And I don't do closeouts,
Right.
but,
That's like
I
liquidation.
just, yeah, liquidation, exactly. So I think, like I said, just having that relationship and, after you spend money with someone or before you're about to do a big PO and you ask them those questions, they're going to respect you, in my opinion. And also they're going to know that you're about what you're about, right? If I'm buying from you and I'm asking you a question, business to business, it'd be nice to get a good answer.
Right. Right. And then so right now for me, there was a time where I was kind of going hard and looking for brands and meticulously searching distributors, going through the catalogs. And one thing I noticed that I didn't really love about going through a distributor was you kind of lose Rakuten, right? You lose a lot of those like little things and perks that I really liked. Um, but going brand direct, I have two brands that I'm brand direct. It's been like a year now, and I just kind of
Nice.
stuck with them. And that's again, they haven't added me as an authorized seller on Amazon or anything, but that is kind of like the holy grail because you're essentially protected. You don't have to get a letter of authorization because you're literally authorized on their platform. So, do you have access to brand registry and stuff like that
Uh,
on
so
Amazon?
on Am so on Amazon, I do not. On
Okay.
Walmart, I do.
Okay.
Um, and
Cool.
while we're talking about all of this, with Walmart, is a lot of opportunity for these brands to go on the platform,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
because a
Yeah.
lot of the big Amazon sellers aren't familiar with all of that different stuff. So So yeah, on Walmart, I do have brand registry. What I will say is it's almost 100% identical to Amazon brand registry, which is, pretty nice as well.
I've actually, just to kind of address something what you're saying, a lot of the brands that have given me IP complaints and whatnot in the past, I'll reach out to them and tell them I'll take down my listing, and I'll always pitch to them, hey, if you need someone to help, watch out for the other sellers on there, I'm here, just for a friendly face, and in hopes they ever respond back. And they're usually pretty amicable, and they'll tell me thanks for help, thanks for reaching out. We'll let you know. They've never really contacted me back, but it's worth a shot, So again, but Walmart, I never thought about that. Yeah, a lot of them are probably trying to transition over to Walmart, and they're probably very foreign to Walmart. So that's a good opportunity for you or I or any OA seller to come in and help them out, quote unquote, but also be an authorized seller, right? Um,
Absolutely.
so if you're watching this and you haven't sold on Amazon or Walmart before, another reason why Salem is trying to look for these brand direct and distributors selling those brands on Amazon is because Amazon has been kind of cracking down, if you will, on illegitimate sellers. There has been a bevy of sellers who are like selling fakes on Amazon, and it's good that they've weeded out all those sellers. But in the process, there has been some casualties that people that were selling authentic stuff that a lot of them did appeal and it was successful and they're back on the selling. But there has been some egregious, cases that I've seen. I was telling Salem, I think the other day, there's someone I knew he was a heavy wholesaler, and he was pretty well known in the community. I talked to him a lot. Everything was authentic, and for whatever reason, and he had recorded everything, documented everything. He was on this Facebook group I'm in that has all these Amazon sellers, and it's kind of like a Amazon sellers union in a way. But he was on there, and I watched his interview with the group admin there, and it seemed like despite all of his invoices from the distributors, and because they were helping with him a lot, because he's had that business for years, they still didn't. Not only did they not get him to come back on Amazon, they held his funds, and since then, I think from that story and then my own experience with this inauthenticity violation that I had in October, which I ultimately did get removed, but I had to hire a lawyer for that process. Because of all that accumulating, I've also kind of taken a step back at scaling astronomically, if you will, on Amazon, and kind of moving towards, more so diversifying with various other e-commerce aspects, a la Walmart, right? So just a little background. Like, this isn't to scare anyone, but there is transparency that I want to at least provide, than just be someone who just says, go on Amazon, go on Amazon, everything is perfect and beautiful, right? So, um,
It's a good
okay,
point.
so during your day to day, can you just kind of go through what's your favorite methods to source, or how do you go through the work life as far as Amazon, having a full time job? How do you manage all that? And is there a way that you've kind of uh, delegated tasks to virtual assistants and whatnot?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Without my virtual assistants, I wouldn't be anywhere where I'm at. Yeah, I mean, working full time is tough while having a business, but to be honest with you, it really keeps me going every single day. And talking to you the other day, I kind of told you like my routine Monday through Friday is, wake up, hit the gym, get a good workout in, come back, go over the leads, before I get ready for my work day. That way, when I do get to work, I can kind of focus at work, even though it's hard to. And then
Yeah.
throughout the day, I'll check in with my VAs. But I spend a good 30 minutes to an hour in the morning highlighting, leads, buying, having them add to my prep center sheet, right? And as far as my VA split goes, I have two VAs for Walmart and I have one VA for Amazon. So with my Amazon VA, he handles everything for me, reaches out to brands, distributors, builds my POs, handles adding my inventory, providing my seller board statistics, pretty much my right hand guy, and he does a very, very good job. I don't have him sourcing OA leads at this time, as I said. Now, with the Walmart side, I do have a VA that sources for me specifically both wholesale sheets and also OA websites. And as far as what websites I have him use, I kind of stay up to date on the sales myself, just so I could kind of tell him, hey, check out Target today, check out Walmart, XYZ. And then on the other hand, I have another VA who handles my editing for my social media and all of that good stuff. So I have a really good team that has been with me for about 2 years now. And it feels good being where I'm at today, knowing that they're loyal to me, they enjoy working with me. And, I would love to go meet them in the Philippines one day just to thank them to their face too. Honestly, it'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. I think what you were saying about you technically have an admin VA for Amazon, right? And I find that the admin VAs are just I can actually breathe with an admin VA, and it's really nice having one. The leads VAs are great because you're finding they're helping you make money, whatever. But those admin VAs are a gold mine. When you get a good one who's very competent and works diligently, it's great, dude. Like I've had one, the same VA that's been doing my admin work. It's actually they're a couple. It's two of them. One does admin stuff, but she's been with me for 2 years now, and she can handle everything from appeals, intellectual property appeals, all the way down to what you were saying, inputting the cost of goods into seller board. And it's
Wow.
made such a difference to just I get an IP complaint, I'll just send it over to her, and within an hour, it's already submitted, and might be at my day job, right? So it's just it's a big relief because you don't have to worry about doing something like that after work. I like to enjoy my time with Amazon, Walmart, and finding leads, not kind of worry about the bureaucratic stuff, right?
It's
Um,
very good. Yeah. Wow.
uh, but you know what? I do need to get a strictly Walmart OA VA. I told my VA for Amazon today. Actually, I was like, "Hey, I kind of want to hit a certain max amount of spend on Amazon, just because I'm kind of watching how much I scale on Amazon. And I think when I hit this amount of number of spend on Amazon, I want to go over to Walmart." And I was just thinking today, I was like, now I got to teach him kind of how to source and everything for Walmart. I've already told him just cross list everything on MF, right? That you're on Amazon, just list it on Walmart because he has my um, access to my Walmart sellers central or whatever. But I was like, dang, I don't. So I sent him one of your videos. I sent it
Oh,
to him
nice.
today because I was like, I know Salem knows what he's talking about. So hey, I will just on that topic, I will link Salem's video, the how to source and find profitable products on Walmart in the description below. Um, but you can also send that video over to your VAs and have them do it for you, right? So
No,
great
for
way to
sure.
delegate. Um, but so again, that's kind of the way that I'm kind of tackling 2025 with diversifying and adding Walmart rather than just kind of putting Walmart as a passive way of making sales. I do want to tackle it head on and make it one of my primary, kind of a 1A and 2A kind of thing, right? Rather than Amazon being my primary seller and Walmart being that passive seller. So awesome, awesome. So okay, so jumping back over to Walmart, what are some key elements as far as listing goes? I know you mentioned reviews and whatnot. What are the key elements that you look at to forecast if it's viable to sell on, given that there's no data from Walmart?
Yeah, I mean, the most important thing that I could tell any new seller or even an existing seller is always make sure that the item you are able to sell it, but also make sure that the item converts to become WFS eligible, which means that converting the item to assure that you
Mm-hmm.
can send it into Walmart so you don't have to touch it. I know a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people, including myself, have made mistakes in the past not doing that, and it is a different process with Walmart regarding converting items. It's not as simplistic as Amazon. So you have to really make sure that it does that. But with that as well, one tip that I do is I will take a picture of the Martyr app of the stock on a listing, and I will then come back to that picture, 6 hours, 24 hours from now, and I'll be able to see how the stock is moving and how the listing is doing. And I've been doing that for about a year now, honestly. And it sounds so simple and basic, but to be able to take a picture of it and remember to go back to look at it really does help in that aspect. But as I said, the biggest thing is just going to be the reviews, the amount of sellers, right? If there's a seller on a listing with a lot of stock, 50 to 100 plus stock, maybe take a glance at their storefront and see what else they're selling, right? And if
Right.
you think that they're selling good products, if they have 50 or 100 in stock and you find it profitable, it's probably going to be best for you to buy some as well because it probably will sell.
Okay. So I guess based on what you're saying, there's some products on Walmart that you're able to merchant fulfill, but they've restricted you from selling or sending it into Walmart WFS. Is that a account per account basis, or is that in general? That's how it is.
I believe that it's in general. I mean, I would say less than 0.5% of my items aren't WFS eligible, but similar to Amazon with hazmat program, dangerous
Right.
good with aerosols, they are kind of implementing that now to where, I couldn't sell bug killer and insect killer this summer. And there's some items, just don't go through.
Right.
It is worth opening up a case to get that confirmation that, hey, this is 100% not able to get fulfilled by us, or they
Mhm.
could look into it. But, just with anything, you always want to make sure you could sell it before you buy it. So I just always stress that, because if you do get caught up on an error with Walmart while you are converting an item, it does require an Excel sheet download, which I'll be honest with you is just a nightmare to try to mess with.
Mhm.
I don't know if you've experienced that, but it is
Yeah.
important to just have a system in place with that to be consistent with everything. 100%.
So okay, so just to segue off of that, you want to check if you can sell the product first before you actually list it, or actually before you actually buy it, right? So how is the ungating process? If I were to try to list it and gave me that error, and the error was to it was incumbent upon me to ungate. How is the ungate process, and are they more restrictive than Amazon?
No, the ungate process is longer than Amazon. It's not a upload a document and wait. It's more of a the process is to essentially list the item or brand that you are wanting to ungate, take that error activity feed is what they call it, which essentially ties what you're trying to do to the command. You
Mhm.
then open up a case with Walmart, hey, I'm trying to ungate Lego brand with this Walmart ID. Can you please allow approval? They will then send back to you a series of about 5 or 6 questions. How long have you been working with the supplier? Do you have your items on hand? Can you provide photos of your items? XYZ. And at that point, that's when you'll provide that invoice. And from my experience, there was not a quantity needed to get approved or not approved. It was essentially name, billing address, matching your profile along with that item. And after you get approval on that item, the part that's different is it does take anywhere from 1 to 5 weeks to get the approval process through the system, which is just absolutely absurd, but that's the
It-
process.
yeah, I found out the hard way last year. So I guess what's so odd to me, and I appreciate what you're saying about the ungate process. I don't know if I just got lucky or what, but all the other people that I know that sold on that are kind of experts selling on Walmart also find it odd that I, for whatever reason, can sell Nike. I can sell Lego. I can sell, I think, Barbie. I've never had to ungate. It just let me sell it. Is that odd? Has that ever happened to anyone that you know of?
I mean, I haven't had to ungate for Barbie. I'll tell you what I had to ungate for: Apple, Sony, Lego, Disney, Pokemon, Squishmallow.
How about
That is
Nike stuff?
all I could recall. No
Have,
Nike.
have you tried to sell Nike, or you just don't know?
That's actually funny you said that. I was cleaning my apartment this morning and found a pair of Nike socks that were in like a bag, and I did list them, and they
Uh-huh.
did sell today.
Oh,
And it
okay.
went through.
Okay.
So
Maybe because I've been selling. I've had an account that I haven't been selling at scale, but I have been selling at least 50 units every month since I think it was last January. It's been a year actually, exactly 12 months ago, essentially. So maybe I just didn't realize it. I didn't try to list that Nike product until like a few months ago. So maybe I got ungated based on my performance after some time. Maybe if I immediately tried when I first opened up, maybe I would have found that I was gated. So maybe there's that metric to it that they look at.
yeah, that's
Um,
fire though. That's awesome.
yeah, yeah. But okay. So as far as that Excel sheet you were saying, is the Excel sheet warranted just for certain kind of errors, whereas the ungate is more so opening a case?
Yeah, with the ungating, you're not going to have to worry about the Excel sheet. The Excel sheet's going to come into play when you're converting an item to WFS.
Okay.
And if you make like a SKU the same as a similar item in the past, or just that any little thing is off, it
Okay.
will kick you to print off an Excel sheet.
Mhm.
Now, if you do open a case about it, they do provide like seller guides to help with it. But
Okay.
like I said, it's just not it's gonna take some time, and like it's gonna take some time to figure it out, and it's just not the most fun thing. I don't say that to scare anybody. I also think it's a positive, as I said, because they're not developed 100% yet, which is
Mhm.
just another reason to go onto this platform, you know?
Right. Right. Okay. So For Walmart, personally, the only software that I use that I'm kind of aware of is Martyr as far as my sales estimator. I've also used Nepetto a little bit. I don't think I know they have a Walmart kind of process there. I don't think it's as popular as the Amazon, but mainly it's just Martyr. And then for Amazon, I use BuyBot Pro, which is their version of the sales estimator, which has packed with stuff. I love BuyBot Pro. Can you give some recommendations for Walmart? What kind of softwares you would suggest to new sellers?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at this time, the only software that I do use is Martyr. They've been consistent. The big thing I like is that they do listen to us sellers, and they've actually implemented a lot of things that I've brought up to them. But with that, the actual Walmart app itself, and I'm not referring to the Walmart seller app, I'm referring to the Walmart app. That's a great app to use when you're in any retail store, to easily scan items and be taken directly to that listing.
Mhm.
But to be honest with you, those are the only two things that I've used my whole time since I started Walmart. Now, as far as Amazon goes, I do use Seller Amp, and then I do use Keepa, and I also use Seller Board.
Sounds great.
Those are Yeah, those are the only softwares that I use, and I think it's important to, you know, reflect on your stack and take away what's not working and really, focusing on that, because spending a lot of money on a lot of different softwares doesn't always guarantee higher profits too. I learned that in the past.
And for those that are watching, we are both affiliates for Martyr. So those guys there, you're right. They're taking feedback and they're very communicative. But on that same note, Seller Board, I've reached out to Seller Board and I asked them, hey, can you guys open up something for Walmart? Because Walmart, it doesn't, my VA has to manually input everything for Walmart, and it's kind of a pain. And I emailed and reached out to them like at least 5 months ago, and they still haven't really made some sort of initiative to add on Walmart. I wish they would. And then as far as a repricer, Walmart has that one within their account, right? Do you use the repricer from Walmart?
That's a great question. So I get asked this a lot. I don't use a repricer for a couple reasons. The first thing is, some items I want to sell at a higher price due to me buying them strategically based on other seller stock.
Hmm,
So my VA is trained, when I buy something, I give him my buy cost and the amount of units that I purchased, and he could then have a better understanding of, okay, the price is down $20. Salem has 10 in stock, someone undercutted. So I do not, to answer your question. I do know Flash Pricer is very good. I did use them in the past,
that's a
but the
Walmart
issue,
repricer, flash pricer.
yeah, Flash Pricer, yep.
Okay.
The issue for me with them was that there were a lot of items, like I said, that I didn't want to have the repricer on because I did want to wait out. So it just kind of caused a little bit confusion. But I'm always willing to get a repricer. But at this time, having my VA do it manually, it has him have more to do, and it just is more awareness for me than the system messing up, which
I see.
happens.
I do have. I set up the repricer for Walmart, or my VA did, and I just don't have enough data, I think, to give adequate feedback. But I did appreciate the fact that Walmart had it there. I just don't know how efficient or effective it really is. Um, but it
Have
sounds
to
like you
try.
kind of have your VA kind of doing that for you, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So as far as a new seller selling on Amazon or Walmart, how would you recommend them obtaining information? Would you recommend them taking a course, or would you recommend them trying to join in groups and communities?
That's a good question. I've joined a lot of courses in the past, and the one thing I'll say about that is, it comes down to a couple things. The biggest thing is finding someone that you can vibe with. Flip Nation and I both work full time, so we maybe cater to people who work or have busy lives, right? But that has helped me tremendously. It's just a matter of finding that right person.
Right.
Secondly, being active in communities is obviously a huge plus. Documenting your journey, whether you have no sales, one sale, talking to other sellers. Without that, I definitely wouldn't be to where I am today. But just put yourself out there and don't be afraid to ask questions. And the biggest thing I could say is there's a lot of information out here in this world today, more than we know what to do with. But if you find someone that you like their content, maybe stick with that content and, see where it goes. but just keep an open mind and just know, that, this is possible to do long term. It just requires the work. And it's something that I personally enjoy. And I think it's safe to say you do too.
Yeah. And see, that's why I've made it a point. The people that I interview and I kind of speak with, I know that they're transparent and they're authentic. I think it's also important for those new sellers to make sure whoever you vibe with or are kind of watching their content, that they're kind of appeasing to the actual process and not just your emotions. Because, I feel like I know every single like the classic guru in Amazon. And I swear every day when I go on my personal Instagram account, pops up a new ad from the guy that I've never or girl I've never seen before. And I'm just like, golly, and they are strictly appeasing to your emotion, that shiny object syndrome. And those are the people I think you should watch out for. The ones that are authentic, you can kind of tell it's a little bit more boring, right? It's not as like shiny, but those are the ones that are actually authentic. And if you would ever buy a course or join anyone's group, it's those people that are going to be the ones that are worthwhile because they're actually genuine and they actually care about who they're actually giving this information to. So just that's one thing to know. You won't. I
100%.
think private label, it's much worse. Like there's a bevy of these like gurus for private label, but there's still a decent amount in OA, RA. So just do your own due diligence when you're trying to find a course. But again, there's great information out there for free, and all the people that I've interviewed on my channel, they're great people to follow and absorb information. So. Um,
Good point.
Okay, so something I always like to ask, especially with you, since you've grown so much in the last 2 years, in either your Amazon or Walmart business, what do you think helped you the most to transition from 2,500 a month to 20K to 50K, or where that those big jumps? How do you think those big jumps are successful?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, and I appreciate it. The biggest thing, and this was the hardest thing for me personally, was the amount of spending I was doing.
Mhm.
Even though I had the concept down, I had the right products, it just took me a long time to see the big picture of all of this and really, be confident within myself to make that $15,000 purchase order or to buy 100 units of this item. And it's not something that you need to rush, right? I think with that in place really allowed me to grow, like you said, to where I'm at today. But it's something that you have to know when to pull the trigger on, right? But without that, I think I would still be at the same spot.
Mhm.
But I'm starting to realize it's all about how much you spend once you get the fundamentals down and once
Right.
you have the product. And the best part of the business to me that I enjoy is the buying, and that's something that I never want to delegate, just because I enjoy being hands on with the numbers and making those quantity decisions.
Yeah, yeah, and I've tried to delegate the buying to my VAs, but it becomes an issue, especially if they're overseas. They have to be on a proxy, and then sometimes your card gets declined, and there's a lot of those kinds of issues that also come into play. So you were saying your number one thing was actually having the confidence to spend, right? Is there anything that you could speak to regarding like process and kind of knowledge?
Yeah, you mean regarding like yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to think real quick. I have to chop that
You're
out.
you're good.
Um,
I guess uh, aside
Rephrase it.
from
Sorry.
aside from spending, I think what you were saying, maybe you can speak to like learning the fundamentals because I
Yeah.
think people do like to just jump from like, because again, a lot of them are brought in from some guru who's already, flexing his Lambo and whatnot. And they think, okay, this can happen overnight. In fact, it can't happen overnight. Like someone like you started, both of us, we started small and then kind of gathered more and more information and things compounded. Not only the money compound, but also the information and trial and error. So is there kind of knowledge or information that you would like to discuss that helped you get to that 0 to 20K, 20K to 40K?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I would say the biggest thing is taking, smart decision risks,
Okay.
right? Like, hey, I'm gonna buy three of this item that I personally never thought I would sell or don't have any thought of buying it for myself, right? But this
Mhm.
might sell. So maybe broadening a wider net is
Right.
a bigger thing that I wish I would have done sooner. When I was new, I found myself kind of buying what I saw on people's Instagram reels and their stories and
Right.
oh, I want to buy this what they're buying. And at the end of the day, you have to realize that there's so much opportunity in this business that there's
Right.
room for everyone to eat. and you
Right.
don't want to always buy what other people buy. And that's one thing that I think would help you if you're a new seller. Everybody wants to go to Nike and Adidas, which is great, but there's so many other niches, brands, and it might not be something that you personally like, right? But it's going to sell and make you money. And that's something, if you could change your mindset with, I don't like it, but it sells, could really
Right.
open up doors too, for sure.
Right. For sure. And like all those like sub niches, they have a huge following. You just, I
So
think
many.
selling on Amazon, one thing that I've really learned about is those beauty brands that I've never even come across, but they're have such a huge audience, right? Even those smaller beauty brands, you go to their Instagram, it's like 500K followers. It's like, wow, I would have never heard of this brand had I not been selling on Amazon. So yeah, like discovering these new brands is pivotal, especially if you want to, scale, you know, with
Yeah.
OA at least. Okay. So either Walmart or Amazon, can you tell me the most tumultuous time that you had, whether that be like an IP complaint, an authenticity complaint, maybe Walmart lost your shipment or something of that nature?
Yeah, absolutely. Amazon's gonna take it from this one for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Walmart's been fortunately very good to me.
Uh,
With Amazon, I've had 3 Q4s now, and I've gotten Section 3'd this Q4 during Q4, and
this
I
recent
also
one?
got, yeah.
Wow.
And then I got Section 3rd last year during Q4, and I didn't know about it until I didn't get my money from Q4.
Jeez.
So, it was very scary. And, there's a lot of resources out there, but at the end of the day, in my opinion, everybody's case is unique, right?
Right.
So you have to fight your own case. Unfortunately, these were both from products that I purchased from Target both times. And, my billing and shipping address matched, which is something that you preach in the video that I saw that's important. But everything was fortunately aligned. So, with that being said, now I'm a little bit more confident if it were to happen again. But it was by far the most stressful week that I've had in my life. The first time, with having so much money in there and my business in there, it's a gut punching feeling, 100%.
So that was the first time? That was the Target buy?
Yeah,
Then what happened the second time?
it was a Target buy on a video game that
Okay, Target
someone
again.
said. Target again, yeah.
So that's fortunate because Target gives those invoices, those nice invoices with the Target
Yeah,
logo and everything. Oh, wow.
yeah,
Yeah, because it could have been a nightmare had it been like some item that you can only get the order confirmation, things of that nature, right? So,
yeah. Like
yeah,
talking about it brings back some, yeah.
yeah, yeah. See, from and the inauthenticity that I got recently that kind of made me, question Amazon was an authenticity complaint that I got from a Walgreens item, which Walgreens is pretty reputable. They give you invoices too when you ask for it, or you can print it out. And they declined me over and over again. And I got to a point where I had to hire Jeff Schick. Shout out Jeff Schick. They were able to do this what's called an executive appeal, which just kind of blew my mind. They sent the appeal to an email of an executive on Amazon, which I guess you can really only know if you're a lawyer. I don't know. I guess that's what I was paying for. I needed something to backdoor an invoice, right? So, or the appeal. And it was crazy to me that it actually worked. I was like, no way you're just gonna email this random email. But I got an email back as a performance notification that the appeal was lifted. And I'm just like, wow. But before that even happened, they wanted to do an interview based on this Walgreen inauthenticity appeal that I appealed. I think it was my third or fourth time. And the advice I had from a lawyer was you need to start sending also tracking information to show that the shipment got sent out and that whatever shipment was receiving was delivered. So I had to add tracking to every single one of my orders. Now this was, I had sold at least 200 of these items in the last 365 days. So it was like a 64-page packet. And then Jeff Schick was telling me that you need to shorten it out because apparently the agents, when they receive your appeal, they have an X amount of time to run through your appeal. So if they don't have enough time to run through your appeal, they're not going to give you the benefit of the doubt. They'll just reject it. And things like that, I'm just like, wait, what? Like you could be a huge seller who's been selling for years, and they're not going to give you the benefit of the doubt. Like that is insane to me. That's kind of just uh, the whole business relationship between you and Amazon should have some sort of authenticity if you've been selling there for a while. They should give you some sort of grace. And I found it troubling that they didn't give me any grace in that situation to the point where I was almost, risking my whole business, right? So thankfully it got appealed, but it did kind of open my eyes and I figured, okay, I need to diversify into Walmart more. So, and at
Crazy.
least we're fortunate enough to be still have our accounts. There's much more worse stories than that, but I'm glad Walmart hasn't given you any issues. So that's great. That's great.
Yeah, no, 100%. They've been very good.
Okay, so I'm gonna wrap this up. Here's the final question here. What
No problem.
message or advice can you give to new sellers that you don't see being discussed in the Walmart or Amazon community?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing I would say is that either Amazon or Walmart, if you do decide to take on that venture, if you are currently in it, just know that it takes time and it takes patience. And you might see, our post and our stuff of what we're doing. And, you know, it takes a long time to build that. And I say that to have hope, right? It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen in a week. And if you really think long term with not only business or e-commerce, but with anything that you're doing, it's going to pay off in the long run if you stay consistent to it. So never compare yourself to others. Never, do that to yourself. Everyone has a path and a journey at their own pace. And as long as you stay consistent, just with anything else in life that you want, you will be able to make it, right? And follow people that provide good content and soak yourself with sellers that are like you or around you and talk to people and just put yourself out there. And the amount that you'll learn and the amount of people that you'll network with, I mean, it's absolutely crazy. The internet is a powerful thing in this world. And in 2025, I'm sure you could agree, e-commerce feels very different right now, but in a very good way. And I'm excited to see where it goes, both Walmart and Amazon.
Right. Yeah, nothing worthwhile really comes easy, right? Unless it's a TikTok video that goes viral and you're a TikTok shop affiliate.
That's true. Yeah, yeah, that's different.
Okay. Well, hey, I would like to ask, can you drop in your social and your YouTube, Instagram, where the people can find you watching this video?
Absolutely. Yeah. My YouTube is Salem e-commerce. My Instagram is Salem WFS. And then my Twitter is Salem C. More than happy to answer questions if anybody has any. But definitely appreciate everyone tuning in. Definitely appreciate you, bro. Looking forward to talking to you more and seeing how you grow within Walmart. I'm excited to
Yeah.
see you tackle it.
And I'm going to drop your Instagram and YouTube here in the description below. Give Salem a follow. He's got great content. He kind of motivates me to keep posting more. His content game has leveled up, and I'm just like, golly, like all these like in-store kind of content and just more engaging, entertaining content. Very worthwhile to follow him, as well as just helpful advice along your journey, whether it's Amazon or Walmart. Give him a follow. Salem, thank you so much for coming on, man. I appreciate your time today.
Hey, I appreciate you, brother. Thank you.